Who was accused of cutting internet and cable lines all across Fargo has pleaded guilty. He was sentenced today. Timothy Windles was charged with 4 counts of tampering with or damaging a public service. He was convicted of 1 felony and 3 were reduced to misdemeanors. He was sentenced to 6 months in jail, credit for 59 days for about 2 months already served. He's also ordered to pay more than $3,000 in restitution to local businesses and properties that were damaged. Fargo police received a report from Midco in August saying internet and cable lines at least 7 parts of Fargo have been either cut or damaged, causing significant service outages, leading eventually to that arrest.